What the hell am I doing test riding a KLR 650? I totally owned one and totally reviewed it years ago. Well, this isn't just any KLR 650. This is the KLR 650S. Also, it's red. So I'm here at Power Motorsports in Sublimity. Big shout out to Power. They've always been really good to me in allowing me to come take these bikes out and test ride them in places that maybe most people don't get to test ride them. So we're going to do a little highway, we'll do a little road, and we'll do a little gravel test today on the KLR 650S. What is the KLR 650S? Well, great question. This is the new fuel-injected KLR reintroduced in 2022. One of the most common complaints about that KLR has always been the seat height. It's too high. It's a very beginner, new rider friendly bike. It's very easy to ride, except it's tall and top heavy, and that makes it intimidating for new riders and harder for shorter riders to get into and want to ride. So Kawasaki wisely came out with the KLR 650S. It is the same bike with a 2-inch shorter seat height, and they did that by shaving a little off the seat and compressing the suspension a little bit. So it's the same suspension, as far as I know, based on what I read. It's just compressed more. It's actually going to be a little bit stiffer suspension from what I'm told, which was a complaint about the other KLR that I had. I had a 22, and I'll put the review and the whole playlist in the description and up on the screen for you if you want to check that out. But I want to know how much of a difference the S makes. And, is this really a really good entry-level dual sport bike? In my head, it straddles the line between dual sport and adventure bike. Honestly, it is more of an adventure bike to me because it's like 460 pounds, even though it's a single-cylinder thumper with a lot of other dual sport hallmarks. This bike has been a lot of people's introduction to the world of off-road riding, of adventure riding. These things have gone all over the world. They've done millions of miles. They are unkillable. They say that if a nuclear apocalypse hits, two things will survive: cockroaches and KLRs. They have a lot of down-low torque, very luggable, very forgiving, not a lot of power to spin the rear wheel, get yourself in trouble by accident. You're not going to wheelie this thing unless you're doing it on purpose, so it's a very easy bike to ride. And with the addition of a low seat height, I got to think it's going to be even easier. So first off, swinging my leg over, the seat is less comfortable, which makes sense because they've shaved some of the padding off of it. I thought the seat on the regular KLR was very comfortable. It's one of the most comfortable stock seats I've ever sat on. It was very plush. This is very hard. This feels a lot more like a dual sport seat. So keep that in mind. And if you're going to go adding seat pads or even an aftermarket seat, the bike's going to get a little taller. As far as reach to the ground with the kickstand up, I am comfortably balls of both feet, or I can put one foot flat-footed in the balls of the other one. That and the suspension is going to be the biggest differences between this and the other KLR that I had before. But let's go out and ride it and see if we notice anything else. It's a very basic bike that has a lot of capability, and I think these are $7,200, right around $7,000. It's one of the cheaper adventure bikes you can buy, and it's an insane value for that amount of money because this bike will take you anywhere you want to go and back 3 or 4 times. You could ride it around the world. But let's take it for a ride. Surprisingly nimble considering how much it weighs. I've always been just super impressed by how easy these bikes are to ride. It's fun because of that, because it's not a bike you have to think about a lot. It's a bike you just hop on and go. Now, it's not fast, and they're pretty tapped out on the highway. Like, there are disadvantages, but in terms of an easy to ride, unintimidating motorcycle, the KLR has always been high up on my list, and just making it easier to get your feet down, which is, one of a new rider's biggest anxieties, particularly if you're not 6 feet tall. Like, I'm 5'10", 30-inch inseam. You definitely worry about that. So I love the power delivery, nice and smooth, just a comforting kind of they call it a tractor for a reason. It feels like one. The KLR is a comfort bike. It's like the mashed potatoes and gravy of motorcycles. It makes you feel comfortable. It makes you feel right at home. It's not difficult or spicy. It doesn't require any special skills or acquired tastes. It's just basic, plain. The improvements they made to it in 2022, adding fuel injection and everything, were great across the board. In my opinion, the biggest downside to that was they added even more weight. Most dual sports are not 100 pounds lighter, but, well, actually, like a DR650 is about 100 pounds lighter. The XR650L is quite a bit lighter. It's a dual sport that weighs what an adventure bike weighs. There are some advantages to that, like stability, particularly like on the freeway, on the highway, at higher speeds, when trucks are going by. And this bike is very stable and easy to ride off-road. I don't love the tires that come on it. I never like stock tires though, so that's not much of a complaint. Now, I maintain that the KLX 230 and the 300s, the CRF 300, the KLX 300 are really, really good starter dual sports, and the Rally kind of straddles the line between adventure and dual sport. But if you really want to do adventure riding and you're a new rider, this is a lot better than a lot of the so-called beginner adventure bikes out there. It's cheaper. You don't care about throwing it on the ground. The aftermarket and community is huge, and it's really easy to ride, and the addition of a low seat height makes it even better. My biggest concern with this bike for new riders has always been the weight and the height combining to make it very difficult to handle, and they took away that problem. It's still just as heavy, but all they did was bring the center of gravity down, so it's even more stable and planted off-road. I assume. We're about to find out because we're going to hit some gravel. And again, thanks to Power for letting me do real test rides and not just like, oh, you went around the parking lot, what do you think? Like, it's hard to test ride an off-road bike and not take it off-road. Yes, the title's going to say off-road test ride, and I'm just going to do some gravel roads, but you find a dealership willing to let me go on ATV trails on the brand new bikes, and then I'll do true off-road test rides. It's technically off pavement. It's not the same as riding on the road, but nobody searches for off pavement, so I got to use off-road. Sorry, sue me. I really like this red, but it's kind of unsettling that it's a red Kawasaki. Like, I need it to be a Honda. It just feels wrong to have a red Kawasaki. So first and second gear are super tractorable. You know, it's got more pickup than I give it credit for. It's not boring to ride. Like, you're not going to fall asleep on it if you keep it in the right rev range, and there's no reason not to just piss rev it because that's what they're for. You can spin the rear on the gravel if you're... But you have to do it on purpose. I think that's the point I'm trying to make. It's rare that it happens by accident. Let's try standing. Yeah, I really don't like the foot pegs, but I have always liked the foot position, where my knees land the tank. This bike is easy to grip with your legs, bend your knees, and ride. Particularly on downhills because of the way the tank flares out. You can put your weight up against it. Man, it's almost like someone did a giant burnout through this on a KTM 790 Adventure about a half an hour ago. Oh! Who would do that? The first time I test rode one of the revamped KLRs, I was like, this is one of my favorite fast gravel bikes ever, and it still is. If you're looking for something that's stable and planted on loose gravel, and this is pretty fresh. Yeah, and even like, so if I just if I lock up the rear on purpose, the track's pretty straight at first. It eventually gets a little sideways. But, you know, what are you going to do? No ABS on this one. It'll just take you to the ends of the earth. It's hard to complain about it. It really is. I mean, other than it's slow and cheap, but what you get for $7,000 is insane. It's a very good value motorcycle. If you're wanting something with a little bigger bore that's very solid and planted on the highway, and unlike the other two bikes I mentioned that are in the same class, the DR650 and the XR650L, here's some bumps. Oh yeah, no problem. The suspension's definitely stiffer. Like, it's the same springs, just compressed more. It's honestly good. It resists bottoming even more. Unlike those other two bikes from Honda and Suzuki, this bike's been updated. It's at least modern fuel injection and, you know, a few other, it's got LEDs and a few other creature comforts that those bikes just don't have. In my head, this is an adventure bike for beginners, and it's probably the cheapest one out there that has dead simple reliability. There's a billion KLRs on the road, and they're almost impossible to kill. And when you're looking at this compared to, say, a KTM 390 Adventure, it's awful hard not to think about reliability and think about where you're going to take it. Where are you going to be? Are you going to be, you know, 50 miles up in the backcountry? You want to know this thing's going to start. There's zero qualms about that with a KLR. No worries at all. It's a great bike for the right person. I think it's a bike that a lot of people should start out on. Your first bike doesn't have to be your forever bike. And honestly, this one could be. That's the other thing I like about it is, like, you could take this anywhere and ride it forever. It's going to have enough capability to do long highway rides and semi-difficult off-road stuff. Obviously, you're not going to go on it. Well, people take them on single track trails. You're not going to do like gnarly hard enduro, but like basically anything you can find on a two-track road. If you approach it at the proper speed, that's the other thing, is it's not a speed demon. It's not supposed to be. I had my turn signal on that whole time. So basically, everything I said about the original 22 KLR that I had stands. This is the same. Fun, easy to ride, feels like coming home when you sit on it. But with the added benefit of self-confidence in that when you put your foot down, the ground is right there. So if you are a shorter rider or a less experienced rider, or maybe you're, you know, not as strong as some other riders and you're worried about a heavy bike tipping on you, being able to get really solid footing helps. And this bike with the low seat height gives you that. Now, you're paying the price for that in a couple places, so the disadvantages of the S, the seat's not as comfortable. It's pretty wide though, so it's pretty good. I mean, I've only been on it for 10 minutes. Suspension's gonna be a little stiffer, and you've got less travel. So you're giving up travel and ground clearance to get lower to the ground. I maintain this is not the most heinous off-road capable bike. It's not supposed to be, but for most of what people that buy this bike want to do, it's plenty. It's the same argument with the Trans Alp, like, oh, it doesn't have the same ground clearance as an 890. It doesn't need to. People are not taking them the same places. The same people are not buying them. You're going to come across rain ruts, maybe some logs, big rocks you got to get over and around. There's enough ground clearance and suspension travel to do that. God, the brakes are squishy. I remember that too about the other one. They're very soft. The front, it's not like worn in. The pad is like, the rotor's brand new. This bike has 6 miles on it. So it gets better. All bikes do, but you do notice right away that it's definitely not the most sophisticated system. If you want to get a good bike that'll take you anywhere you want to go, you don't mind that it's maybe slightly uncomfortable and not super fast on the highway, but it's very comfortable and comforting and everywhere else, it's a great choice. The KLR is not great at anything, but it's like a solid 7 across the board. It does everything, and for the price, that's a really good value. Honestly, it's got plenty of power at these highway speeds. I have a whole KLR freeway test video, but I just did 75, no worries. It's got more to give, so it's got that big advantage over the smaller dual sports. Stable, easy to ride. She rides herself, super easy. So I have to come clean. I had a mild ulterior motive for making this video. I was out talking to Matt the other day, that's my buddy who works at Power, and he was like, we got a lot of KLRs, would you make us another video? Because they're looking to sell them, they're looking to make deals. And I was like, it doesn't make sense to do another test ride, but I haven't been out on the S, so it would make sense to test ride the S. So I mentioned that because they have a lot of KLRs in stock right now. So if you're looking for a 24 KLR, I would encourage you to come down, talk to Matt, tell him Dork sent you, because they're looking to make deals right now because they're sitting on a lot of inventory. So come down, talk to Matt if you're looking for a KLR. They have a ton, they have all the colors. I love this red, there's a white, they've got the gray. If you're in the neighborhood, or even if you aren't, Power sells more Kawasaki's than anybody in the country. People drive from all over the place. So email, call, talk to Matt. He's the guy. Matt Williams, that's who you want to talk to. Hashtag not sponsored, but I am very grateful for the opportunities they provide through our partnership. I don't even get commissions, bro. You know, somebody's going to get offended because I said this bike was good for new riders. Somebody always gets offended by that. And just because something is good for a new rider, or a new rider could handle it, that doesn't mean it's not also great for a more capable, experienced rider, particularly those that have done their speedy bike days and are ready to come back to something simple and easy that just gets them where they're going. So that's what I love about the KLR, and the S in particular now, is it's a bike that's very easy to ride. It's a bike that's very easy to start on. It's a bike that I wouldn't hesitate to recommend to a newish rider. It's also a bike you can grow into and ride forever. You can take it anywhere. Do a BDR, take it from one end of the country to the other. You know, go try to push it through the Darien Gap if you want. I wouldn't, but some people might. So anyway, I just like doing a lap because it looks cool on the 360 camera. So thanks for watching. I appreciate you. And if you're looking for more bike reviews, test rides, motorcycle camping, new rider advice, camping advice, shenanigans, stuff like that, please consider subscribing to the channel, because I'm the dork in the road, and I want to be your internet riding buddy, and I'm better than your regular riding buddies because I come with a mute button. Thank you for watching. I'm pointing again. Thank you for watching, and please do not forget to be excellent to each other. Thank you.
Excellent!